Hi, so I just got a few thoughts for today, and actually the bulk of this is going to talk about like Zoom meetings and some things I've read recently about some news about Zoom itself. But what we're going to start with is that press briefing from yesterday at the federal government level. Today's April 1st, Wednesday, April 1st. Yesterday, of course, it was Tuesday, March 31st. And so if you saw that press briefing or saw some news about the press briefing, some of the big things about it had to do with the modeling, the curvature in terms of fatality rates in the U.S. And one of the big takeaways that I got out of that portion was that stuff that I've read other places too, is that the modeling is only as good as the data that gets plugged into that. So what I mean there is the model that they have is based on the data they've collected up to this point and looking at what's going on with this virus in other countries, Italy, Spain, the UK, China, things like that. And so, we all know that all those nations are different. I've talked about that in the office. Culturally, we're different. There's some things that make us unique that don't, cause us to be exact one-to-one comparison to those other countries. But when they do these modeling, they do this kind of modeling, they take into effect, what they can see, what's out there, what's real, and then try to make predictions based off of that. And so since the data that we have for this event isn't completely collected, right, because we're in the middle of it, the model can change. And it can change for the better based on how well we do in the next 2 to 4 weeks, or it could change for the worse. And so, it's really important then to understand that because we then know that we can make that curve better. Those numbers aren't set in stone, the 100,000, 200,000 numbers. They aren't set in stone numbers. They can trend down. And they even said that they can trend better if we do better in the community and what we're supposed to be doing community-wise, which is why it's important to maintain some of that social distancing out there. It's important to control the environments that you're going to as best you can, which is why here in our office, so we can stay open and we can continue to treat you, that we're controlling our environment really closely still, right? We're cleaning it between every patient. All services patients come in contact, we're cleaning. We're asking you as a patient, if you're going to come into the office, if you want to help out, if you use the restroom, we got a spray bottle of Clorox bleach cleaner in there. Spray what you touch down there too for us. So that's helpful for us too, to make sure that we keep our environment clean as a team. But anyway, we're still here. We're helping patients. It's important for us to be here and help patients still, right? Because, if this is going to go on for 30 more days, we don't want people sitting at home with aches and pains and putting that off till later. Because later usually ends up meaning it's a bigger problem to take care of. So if you've got a problem that starts brewing, give us a call and we can find some workaround for you, whether it's some stuff you do at home, care-wise, or if it's time to come in, we'll talk about that too. But call us, don't sit on a problem, get that taken care of, or by at least calling us to kind of working through that out. And we'll do the best we can on the phone with you. But if we can't help you on the phone, we can't give an adjustment for the phone, then if it's time to come in, we'll talk about that too. But anyway, just keep that in mind, because this is going to go on for another 30 days. We don't want people waiting for May 1st for a problem that started, March 27th. So anyway, going to the content here that I want to talk about is a Zoom meeting hacking or security issue. I don't know if you've seen this in the news. That's what got me to look at this. My kids have done some Zoom meetings. We talked about doing some social stuff with some friends on Zoom. But there's been some relatively recent news regarding Zoom and some security issues, and I want to bring up to you, because I don't necessarily say that I don't think you shouldn't do it, but if you're going to use it, you want to make sure you're paying attention to your security settings. So what's happened here recently has been some reports of some hacking going on into people's Zoom meetings. So the way that how the program works is that there's if you're not careful about who can see it, there's a lot of people who can publicly view that you're putting on a meeting. And as a result, what's happened, the one news article I read was here's a case in Massachusetts where a teacher had a Zoom meeting going on and somebody anonymously logged into it or checked into the room and was able to say some really kind of disturbing, profane things and publish some really kind of profane things too into the space. And so we don't, you don't want that to have that happen, and we don't want to scare people away from using that, or me. And so in reality, what I've read about the situation is there's some security settings you should be doing as a host to make that room secure, to reduce the likelihood of that happening. Other things that happen too about this program is apparently the hackers have been able to gain access to people's Windows login ID and passwords. And so, like I say, I don't necessarily know exactly how that happened or is happening. The stories I've read about this, nobody's saying don't use the platform, but what they're saying is use the platform securely. And so the things that are being suggested, if you haven't seen this already, include making sure that you've got a password for your room. So as the host setting up a room, make sure you set a password and give that out to only the participants that you want to have in the room. Other things including managing who can do screen sharing, whether it's the host only or other people can share their screen by requesting the host. So I guess if you're not a host, maybe don't go to into a Zoom meeting that doesn't have a password protection on it to protect yourself, right? There's some things for you to look for. If you can just jump into a room, maybe it's not a room that you want to be in. But if you're hosting the room, that's who you can set these settings for. And for managing your participants, making sure that only people who are signed into the room, logged into the room, can actually be in the room. So I guess the way Zoom works, it allows some people to be able to see a room is open because it's not private, it's public, and they can just join anonymously, have an anonymous username without having to actually log into the room. So there's settings you can do to change that, to stop that from happening. And then there's some two-factor authentication. There's some preference things you can do from a security-wise to really lock that down. So that's, I think, is what the important thing is. Do look at your security settings and lock that room down to only the participants you're going to. And if you're a participant, maybe you only go to a room that you know is locked down. So if you're going to host like a little social room for your family or your friends, have this conversation along with that on who's setting up the rooms and what security settings to make sure everybody in there is going to be safe. And of course, if you're hosting a room, maybe it's a good thing to tell the people that's going to come to your room that you know that you're going to make it secure and giving out passwords to only those people. Make sense? Because I say a lot of people are using the Zoom platform. My kids are using the Zoom platform and all that stuff. I found this news article the other day and I thought this is some good information that everybody needs to know about if they don't already. So if this is new to you, look into it a little bit more to get some detail on it. I say the sources that I looked at were pretty reputable, tech sources. Not saying you shouldn't go. That nobody that I've read saying don't use it. They're just saying to use it safely, use it securely. Anyway, I hope you got some good info out of this talk today. I hope you got some something worthwhile to using. Like I say, we're still here open. Today's Wednesday. We're going home for lunch right now, but we're still going to be open the rest of the day. Give us a call. We're here. We're here to help in any way we can. Thanks. Bye.